What's going on, guys? How you doing? We're on Lights Part 2. Just getting into the fun stuff. Amazing. This guy's doing his little dance thing with the lights. I want to see like him doing that while seeing the stage, like, you know, seeing the stage to see like what he's doing. Because sometimes it looks like it's not like he was just talking about how he's trying to do it to the music and to the lyrics. And sometimes it doesn't seem like it's in time. I don't know if there's a delay, but that's where I'm like, I want to see what you're doing and what it looks like on stage and hear the music all at the same time, you know, instead of like just seeing the stage or just seeing his hand. Anyways, let's start this part 2, bam.
When we start designing, when I put it together, I have to know what the smallest venue and the largest venue is going to be. And we have a footprint that I designed to based on those sizes. And then I put my dream system together, like anyone wants their dream vehicle. I want my dream system. And once I design that, I bring it to the band for approval. And then they say, this looks great. Let's see what it costs. And then from there, we get cut back. And then until it fits the budgetary constraint, and then we wind up with a really nice show. There's 130 moving lights. There are 4 different genres of lights up there. Some are hard edge, some are washes, some are conventional audience blinders. Everything's been custom circuited, custom wired.
Pretty cool.
Matt is my assistant. He's very important. He makes sure that the show runs technically perfect while I'm running the show. Any kind of malfunctions that happen, glitches with video, because we are controlling video through the lighting console a lot, and Matt keeps that going. So if, let's say, if an intelligent lighting fixture wigs out and goes into the audience and blinds them, Matt will grab it and turn it off while I'm continuing through the show. Because there's a lot happening on the headset, so it keeps everything flowing, you know. And as I say, you know, Matt being a technician as well, who can fix things and make sure everything is running smoothly, is it's worth having.
What's going on here is we've got a typical kind of pre-rigged truss where you've got some of the lights ride inside the truss, right, on lamp bars. So you have this big contraption here. It's 3 lighting instruments that normally would maybe have to go in road cases. So it saves a lot of truck space to have them in the truss. And then once the truss is lifted off the ground, the bars, as you'll see in a little while, the bars slide upstage slightly and then they drop down so that you can see, so the light can make the shot to downstage. And then all the pipes that I've been moving that are on the back of the truss on these hooks, eventually these move and get dropped down, and there's more lights that hang off the back that are actually in road cases. So right below every one of these lights, there's going to be a whole nother light once this thing's done and ready to fly. There are 8 sections of truss, and because every truss has an angle to it, there needs to be a motor at the end of each section of truss, so there's 10 motors that are used to lift this one truss. And I think that what we calculated the weight to be was right at about 1,000 pounds per section. It's pretty close to what the weight is. And the chain motors are rated for lifting 1 ton, which is about twice that. But part of the reason we need so many motors is just because of all the angles. And the braces that I'm placing right now are what help keep those angles in place as it flies. Because while you can put the chain motor in the right spot above the truss to lift it, because of the weight, the way the weight is on the truss, if we don't have an angled piece to lock it, it'll actually some of the gaps will close up, and or they'll move as the truss is being moved, or people are climbing on it, because we have people that get up on the truss during the show and run follow spots. We don't want them getting their leg in between one of these truss joints and having it close up.
On this particular tour, I was looking at an article in one of the architectural magazines when they were speaking about how curved glass reflects sunlight. and how it actually makes the sun seem like it's like light bending, which it was intriguing to me. So I decided to experiment with some curves on this, and I put together this S curve truss with a light on it.
These are the follow spots. These are also moving lights, right? But it's a hand-operated light. The oldest kind of moving light, the original.
Right, spotlights.
They're only automated because we'll have 4 guys up here listening to instructions on a headset, following along, changing color and following the band. It's really hot and it's not a very fun job. I've done it. Especially when you're outside doing the sheds in the summer and it's 100 degrees without the heat of the lights right below you.
Right. Right.
Not to mention pyro and flames going off and
Heat rises
all kinds
and
of
you're
good
all the
stuff.
way up there. Yeah.
Yeah, what we're doing now is we're about to lift the entire snake truss at once. First, I have to bump every single motor and make sure I have control of it. On stage, truss moving.
Control plug in up there, the little silver plug. Wiggling it. Make sure you plug it in. You didn't switch these or something, man. Oh, here we go. Yeah, I found it.
On 3, 1, 2, 3. And it's got to stay even as it goes down. Good. Okay. Good. All right, guys, are you ready up top?
Yeah, we're ready.
On 3, 1, 2, 3. Slide up stage. And then come down nice and even. And you just help take some of the weight off so they aren't doing all the work. Okay, good? All right. And we're gonna do that about 6 more times. I think we're about on schedule where we normally are. It's gonna be right in the corner, okay? Yep, right here actually. And whenever you see one with a 100, 117, it's always gonna go right next to 17, okay? Normally this truss, and this is really bad that this light looks like that. Hey, sorry, hang on. Hey, Greg, are you on deck?
Oh, what's up?
Come here and look at this light with me for a minute. That's not normal, is it? It came out of the truss that way somehow. Because I saw the cover like that when it was dropped down. So it didn't happen when, it happened like somehow coming out of the truck. All right. I mean, that's because those screws are out though, right? Or it broke the screws.
It broke something. We're gonna have to swap that.
Well, look at this. Look at this. I mean, this is. It looks like. It looked very.
Yeah. It ripped. Oh God! It ripped them right off.
Yeah.
Okay. Okay, we'll have to swap that.
That's what I thought. Normally they don't point that far up. Minor setback. Somehow, I mean, it's the nature of what we do. This stuff moves thousands of miles. It goes in and out of trucks and gets handled very rough. And the fact that somehow when it was going into the truck, something pushed probably the back end of the light really hard like that, which it doesn't point that far up normally. So now it's broken the screws that help hold the tilt mechanism in place. So this light's going to require a lot of work to get it back in shape. We'll have to use one of the spares, and it's a good couple of 3-4 hours of work probably to fix it. But that's the way it goes. You know, we lose a light almost every show. We're losing something.
Wow.
So
Yeah.
if it was an outdoor show with no roof, which I was hearing some stories about a show that doesn't have a roof covering the stage that's built outside, they lose about a dozen lights a day. If it's at all wet, they're going to lose at least a dozen lights that are going to get trashed, and it's very expensive to fix them. But that's part of what the artist has to pay for if they're going to do an outside show and their design doesn't include a roof.
It's the risk you take, you know, leaving them, but it saves so much time in the mornings that it's actually worth the risk.
They gotta
you know?
price that in.
But
obviously.
it does happen from time to time, but that's why I have spares.
The best part of this job is the traveling and the freedom of artistic creativity. I mean, I really enjoy what I do, and I don't think a lot of people can say that in their jobs. I enjoy going to work. I enjoy the creative freedom that I have. Working for 3 of the most amazing guys, you know, in the entertainment business who are really, really down-to-earth gentlemen. And they trust me 100% in giving them my creative, you know, aspect of what's happening. But I'm also very proud of what I do and, you know, all the years I've been doing it.
Living with people on the road is, you just have to have a personality where you can adapt to what, you know, the environment is. Living on a bus with people, like this tour we have days off. A lot of tours you only get 1 day off a week. You get 2, maybe 3. So
they're older.
It makes it a lot easier to get along when you have a little bit of time apart versus being with each other on the bus every day and in the venue all day long. Right back to the bus, back to a show in the morning. Like it's definitely harder when you have that kind of a schedule. But you know, we get enough time off that I mean, I don't see Gregg for hours at a time sometimes.
That's true. That's really true.
I'm 30 and I've been doing this since I was 18. And I've been doing it without making a living doing it since I was 16. I started doing it in high school. I think Gregg's in the same boat.
Me too. I started when I was 14
doing
in high school.
Yeah, theater in high school, yeah.
I get to see the world.
Yep.
I don't have to sit in an office. Every day is unique because no 2 buildings are the same. So every day you kind of have to reinvent the wheel a little bit, and I kind of like that. It breaks up the monotony. I mean, plus to get paid to, you know, go see, you know, some of my favorite bands. I mean, this is my favorite band, Rush, you know. So I mean, I'm super excited to be here. So just the fact that I'm actually getting paid to do this is really hard work, and there are times when it's not a lot of fun. But I think ultimately the payoff is really worth it.
Cool. That's very interesting about the whole outdoor thing. And also like a big deal. That's a big deal. It's like, it's an outdoor venue, okay, and there's no covering. It's just like festival, just like outdoors, like fully outdoors, uncovered. That's a major expense. It's pretty wild. I mean, and also, like, think about it in terms of, like, I know that some people were commenting about, like, ticket prices and things like that. And I do think that, like, for a lot of concerts, ticket prices have went bonkers. But also, look at all this stuff that's involved. Everything costs more. All this stuff costs more. The people cost more, right? Every single thing costs more. It's just, it's crazy to think that it's sustainable. You know, it's like, I don't, like, when I think about those kinds of things, like, I don't get it. I'm like, how? Like, wages don't, they don't follow prices exactly at all. They totally lag. They've been talking about $15 an hour minimum wage for freaking forever, right? And there are states where it's still not that. It's like, okay, we'll do it, but it's going to be implemented, you know, over the course of the next 15 years or whatever, 10 years, 5 years, whatever. So it's like, okay, next year it goes up $1 and then, you know, whatever. Anyways, that's not really what this is about. Everything's just expensive. It's wild. It's pretty wild. So for all you people that lived during the 70s, you were there from Rush at the beginning. It's like, how was inflation so high then? It's because it continues. That's why. Anyways, yeah, it's what it is. It's just all wild. Everything's all super expensive. You need all these spare lights, all these spare everything. I suppose they figured out that it's cheaper for them to just do it all in-house as opposed to have different. Yeah, it's absolutely better to do that, especially if you want the same show. You know, it's a show. You have to tour with the show. So it wouldn't make sense to just have different people, new people at each venue, at each city, right? Yeah, I mean, I've never done any big, massive tour, like anything this big. Lots of times it's just like, okay, you guys have like a sound guy, like you're touring with the band, and like a lighting guy, a sound guy, a manager guy, you know, like whatever, like tour manager guy, stuff like that. And the sound guy has to work with the local, the venue people, or the local, whoever's local that is there, kind of thing. Same thing with lights. You know, it's like you show up, there's a different board, whatever the board the venue has. You know, this is where you kind of send riders and you find out what they have ahead of time, things like that. And you just, you know, it's like that kind of thing. This is totally different. You're like literally bringing your entire show on 7 freaking trucks. That way, you know, it's going to be the same. The quality, it's all bam, you got it. It's really quality control, really, and consistency control. So, I mean, yeah, it's necessary for sure. It's definitely necessary for this kind of thing. Cool. All right. That lighting guy, you know, I wasn't sure about him on that bus tour with all the alcohol, but he seems really cool. He seems super cool and very into what he does. So I'm into that. That's super cool. Awesome. All right, we got part 3 coming up. Lights part 3. I'll catch you on later.